What is better than being the champion of the world within our industry of mixed martial arts? Not a trick question. Being a two-time champion.
You know, we had the Conor McGregor era, we've had the Khabib era, and now, dare I say, are we in the Oliveira?
He was an interesting case. He still is an interesting case because he was a guy who was kind of known as a guy who fell apart.
A quitter a little bit. Yeah. Then everybody was
Stingers.
calling him a quitter, all this, and it's like...
And he just turned a corner and then became the baddest motherfucker in the weight class.
Yeah.
To be a two-time champion means that you had to lose the belt somewhere along the way. In a broad stroke, that's precisely what it means.
The story of this fighter, who has already become a true legend in the world of mixed martial arts, deserves a Hollywood adaptation. Charles Oliveira is an exceptional and magnificent fighter who has proven one undeniable truth to the world. No goal is unreachable if you are willing to put everything on the line.
Even if just Charles Oliveira gonna beat like Islam, Dustin, everybody, this is his time. I'm gonna be happy for it.
I mean, he's the champ, but
one of those things.
Technically, he's not the champ.
Charles was hurt against Kevin Lee. Charles was hurt against Dustin Poirier. Charles was hurt against Michael Chandler. He's like a cyborg now. And every time he gets hurt, he gets right back up and he goes right back to work in pursuit of what he is trying to accomplish.
MMA fans, welcome. Right now, we're going to relive one of the most thrilling eras in the lightweight division, filled with spectacular fights, intense rivalries, and true gladiator battles. The champion has a name, and it's Charles Oliveira. Charles first stepped into professional MMA back in 2007 before making his UFC debut. Oliveira was riding an impressive 13-fight winning streak without a single loss, finishing nearly all of his opponents before the final bell. He mixed knockouts with submissions, securing only one decision victory along the way. His dominance earned him championship titles in 2 mid-level regional promotions, paving the way for a UFC contract and a spectacular debut victory via armbar in 2010. However, just 3 fights into his UFC career, Oliveira faced disappointment.
Jim's got it's over! It's a Jim Wheeler submits Charles Oliveira!
The first loss of his professional career shattered Charles' ambitions and fighting spirit. In his next bout, he suffered another defeat at the hands of the well-known Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone, pushing his career to the brink of collapse. Charles would go on to defeat rising prospects but struggled against title contenders. His natural aggression and ruthless fighting style often became his worst enemies. On paper, a low-level, unambitious fighter should have been an easy highlight reel victory for Oliveira. Yet even Paul Felder managed to finish the young version of Charles.
Charles "Bronx" Oliveira has won 10 bonuses in the UFC, and he draws one of the biggest power threats in the division, the Irish Dragon, Paul Felder.
Charles started that fight well, but once again, his reckless aggression led to his downfall. He was punished and beaten against the cage. Aggression and ruthlessness can be great weapons, but only when combined with fight IQ and a well-structured game plan. The young Charles stepped into the octagon with no strategy, thinking only about securing an early finish by any means necessary.
Paul Felder gets Charles Oliveira out of there.
Oliveira tapped those shots.
At that point, Oliveira simply didn't understand what he was doing wrong. He had tremendous potential and impressive skills, yet he couldn't fully realize them. Every fight exposed weaknesses in his game that needed to be fixed. Oliveira even considered quitting MMA altogether and focusing on a coaching career, but his family pushed him to make the right decision. And with the heart of a champion, Charles Oliveira achieved the impossible.
But in jiu-jitsu, if you get a guy like Charles Oliveira who's that good at jiu-jitsu, he could strangle a fucking heavyweight.
Yeah, sure.
And I've seen it. I've seen it happen.
Could.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Guy who doesn't know jiu-jitsu and he's rolling just doing jiu-jitsu with a guy like him, and he gets your back. Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is some of the best I've ever seen in MMA.
Nasty. What he's great at. It is so nasty. This is terrible.
There's the tap. Charles Oliveira by submission. That's got a familiar tone to it.
He's going body triangle. It's like a backpack. Oh, now the right arm is under. It's done. Looking for history. There it is. Charles Oliveira, the most submission wins in UFC history.
There's the tap. Charles Oliveira does it again.
Wow.
And he had already broken the record, right?
Wow.
Unbelievable. The man with the most submissions in UFC history in any division adds to that total here tonight.
Charles Oliveira, who not long ago was contemplating retirement, stepped into the octagon and secured his 4th consecutive submission victory against David Tamer.
He's the one guy where it doesn't matter what happens in the fight. If you go to the ground with him, you're in deep shit.
After an impressive streak of early finishes, Oliveira was labeled as just a good jiu-jitsu guy, someone who only knew how to choke opponents out. However, in his next fight, Charles proved everyone wrong. Nick Lentz was completely unprepared for Oliveira's striking and found himself laid out on the canvas after a perfectly timed right hand to the chin. This dominant win streak earned Charles a spot among the top 15 lightweights in the world. The next step for the future champion was a fight against a top 10 lightweight. Kevin Lee stepped up, aiming to end Oliveira's run, but he was simply not ready to face a predator on the hunt for his next victim. In the 3rd round, Charles choked Kevin Lee out from the back, officially breaking into the top 10 of the lightweight division for the first time in his career. On top of that, Oliveira climbed to 3rd place in UFC history for the longest finish streak.
Successful people and winners aren't necessarily the most gifted and the most talented athletes. You know, it's the ones that never stop trying sometimes that outlast the pack and end up being champions. And Charles Oliveira is a good example of that, and I think a lot of fighters should take note from it.
The way Charles transformed from a mid-level, overlooked fighter into the most dangerous title contender seemed almost unbelievable, like something out of a movie. He resurrected what appeared to be a dead-end career and became the boogeyman of the lightweight division. He had already earned fan recognition, money, and fame, but his goal was much bigger. Charles had always dreamed of becoming a champion, and at last, fate smiled upon him.
I mean, I said it immediately after we fought. I knew during the 2nd round of our fight that he was going to be a champ. I see him being a champ for a few more years, at least.
All right, next fighter to the scale is only the most decorated submission artist in UFC history, taking part in the co-main event here tomorrow night in the lightweight division, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. All right, next fighter to the scale, he is one of the greatest lightweights in UFC history, former interim champion, number 3 in the world, El Cucuy Tony Ferguson.
I got something coming for him. I'm gonna bitch slap that dude, I'm gonna hit him twice in the stomach, I'm gonna make him piss blood, and then he's gonna give me 20 fucking push.
Tony Ferguson is an animal. An animal. He's the scariest guy at 155 in my word.
I agree.
In my world, because he don't get tired.
Yeah.
That Cowboy fight freaked me out. Cowboy looked like Tony had bricks in his gloves.
Yeah.
His face was all busted up. Tony didn't look like he had a scratch on him, and Tony wasn't even tired.
Tell that bitch to come up, and I'm gonna sign the dotted line. This is my weight class. You wanna talk shit? I'll be the first one to sign that dotted line. Mark my words, bro. You're gonna get the real El Cucuy. I don't even care.
Despite the disappointing loss to Justin Gaethje, no one was ready to write Tony off. A true fan favorite and a nightmare for any fighter, Tony Ferguson stood between Charles Oliveira and his championship aspirations. Ferguson was the final test for Oliveira's championship ambitions. This fight was also the last time fans witnessed the brutal, aggressive, and violent version of Tony Ferguson that had made him a legend. Charles dominated Ferguson, securing a statement victory that cemented his right to fight for the title.
Who do you think is more obviously a closer fight if I was to throw you Michael Chandler versus Conor, Justin Gaethje versus Conor, or Charles Oliveira versus Conor?
Absolutely incredible stat that is. Of all the thousands of people that have fought in the octagon and the amount of submission specialists that we have, Charles Oliveira owns the most submission, which is an incredible feat, but he's also knocking people out now.
As Khabib Nurmagomedov retired, former Bellator champion Michael Chandler made a sensational UFC debut, knocking out Dan Hooker in spectacular fashion. With the division's future unclear, the UFC matchmakers considered an interim title fight between Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and Chandler. However, Oliveira's dominant win streak simply could not be ignored. While Poirier and Gaethje had already received their title shots, the Brazilian continued dismantling top contenders, waiting for his moment. Then, like a bolt of lightning, the UFC announced a title fight between Chandler and Oliveira for the vacant lightweight belt.
He set the record for total submission wins in the UFC in 2018.
He's never out of line. He's never out of position, never out of balance. He's just one of the best fighters to watch for. Pure technique.
He is a lightweight contender on a serious rise.
Oh! Big night! Surprise, surprise! There's a new king in the lightweight division, so beat me if you can!
The lightweight title is vacant. It will not be in 25 minutes. Early leg kick for Oliveira. He's in yellow. Michael Chandler's in white.
Moves right towards him. It's gonna be a guillotine.
It's tight, too. And it's tight.
It's real tight.
He's in trouble.
It's real tight. Depending on how Michael reacts to this. Oh, back. But that's terrible. He slammed himself into a deeper body triangle.
You're under 2 minutes to go in the round. There's that left hand.
Oliveira's in trouble. He's in real trouble.
Despite unimaginable pain and bleeding heavily, Charles refused to give up. His champion spirit would not allow him to lose. With patience and resilience, he weathered the storm, then rewrote UFC history in his own name.
Knockdown for Oliveira now.
Chandler's in real trouble.
Now Chandler is dead. He's down. Charles Oliveira is the undisputed UFC lightweight champion.
Congratulations.
My goodness!
He's in it.
Wow!
Charles Oliveira has done it.
How in the world does it change that fast?
Oh my
That's
goodness.
the game we play, right?
Oh my goodness.
Listen, when he was born, he developed bone rheumatism, and he also had heart murmurs. He was told by the doctors he would never walk again. He was told he would never play football. He was told that he would have to have injections every 2 weeks for the rest of his life. Well, as we know, he went on to become an absolutely legendary force inside the UFC, right? Breaking all kinds of records and becoming champion of the world. I mean, if that isn't defying the odds, I don't know what is.
A man who was once forbidden to play football, a man who was told he would become disabled, rose to become the best lightweight in the world. Unfortunately, Charles Oliveira's reign was short-lived, but his title defenses will forever be remembered as some of the most thrilling in UFC history.
The guy's very dangerous and very capable, and yeah, that's all I got to say, man. I respect his journey to get where he's at, to be the undisputed champ, because I have a similar one.
Trying to complete his mission in Dustin Poirier. Poirier, the southpaw, is in red. Charles Oliveira in the black and gold, befitting a champion. Early right hand gets through for Du Bronx. Now an elbow from Charles.
Oh, Dustin hurt him quick. Oh, good straight left by Poirier. Good knee to the body by Oliveira. And then a front kick to the body. Look at that. Beautiful job by Dustin.
2.5 gone by round one.
Oh, good left hand by Poirier. And a right hook by Poirier.
He's hurting Oliveira bad.
Oh, beautiful front kick to the liver.
Oh! There's a big right from Poirier.
Oh, beautiful straight left by Poirier.
Well,
and
Dustin's
another.
just walking him down now.
The power difference is huge.
That one snapped Oliveira's head back. Charles counters with an elbow.
Again.
What a round, what a start.
That's what they wanted him to do. They just wanted him to get tired and just don't do anything stupid.
My
don't give up
goodness,
your back. Whoa, look at that.
Look at the transition that Charles Oliveira made to get Dustin Poirier down. Oh, and he said he did not want to give his back, and right now, Du Bronx is jumping on his back. He has got to change his position right now, because Charles Oliveira is the slickest submission artist.
Oh,
now he's hiding the
man.
hand, Joe. Dustin's in trouble.
Dustin's in real trouble.
Dustin's in real trouble.
It's under the neck. It's under the neck. It's under the neck. He's gonna tap.
The fight against Dustin Poirier turned into a nightmare for Charles. Facing the best striker in the division, who also had grappling experience, the Brazilian was dragged into deep waters. What followed was a 3-round gladiator war, culminating in yet another incredible submission from Oliveira. Despite a knockdown and absorbing heavy damage, Charles once again found a way to turn the fight in his favor.
Lightweight champion of the world, Charles DuBronx.
It's like it was a little bit surprise for me. Honestly, it's like I was thinking like Dustin gonna win, but Charles did very good job. He gave him like very good pressure since fight beginning, and he did very good job, you know.
Next up was Justin Gaethje, after suffering a humiliating defeat to Khabib Nurmagomedov, where he was put to sleep in the Eagles Triangle choke. Many fans hoped that the problem wasn't Justin, but simply that Khabib was too dominant. The fight against Oliveira was supposed to answer a crucial question. Could Gaethje truly compete against high-level grapplers, or was he only dangerous in striking exchanges? While the fight stayed on the feet, it felt like it could end at any second in favor of either fighter. Charles absorbed more damage, but that was all part of his plan. By the 3rd minute, Oliveira dropped Gaethje, forcing him to prove his championship medal. And then, DuBronx executed his strategy to perfection. Gaethje tapped.
Oh, you heard him again. Oh, uppercut after Gaethje knocks Oliveira down.
Oh my goodness, this is a war.
Beautiful combination for Gaethje.
He's in trouble. He's in trouble.
That left hook of Gaethje.
Yeah, I think that might have been a right hand that time. But it could.
Gaethje's leg kick now. He's
oh my
loading
goodness,
up.
Gaethje is loading up with that left hook.
Nice little uppercut from Oliveira.
Switch knee, guillotine attempt, right hand, front kick to the body, and here's that pressure from Oliveira. When he gets that pace going and lifts that left leg, he starts marching towards you.
This is crazy.
Absolutely nuts. Through half a round. Gaethje back to work on the leg kick, landed a right hand.
Oh!
Big knockdown with a right for Oliveira.
Oh my
now
God,
trying to transition to the back.
This is good.
Gaethje's out.
You can't let him take his back. Oh, he's got the choke.
He's got it fully locked in.
It's over.
Fully locked in. It's over.
Oliveira's under the chin.
Oh my goodness.
Switches up the grip.
He's gonna go to sleep.
Oh my
That
goodness.
is gonna do it.
This dude right
Who
here,
can
man.
stop Charles Oliveira? 11 in a row, and still the
Tremendous.
best lightweight on planet Earth.
Tremendous.
Oliveira went on an 11-fight win streak, taking out some of the biggest names in the lightweight division: Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Justin Gaethje. But then Charles lost everything after being defeated by Islam Makhachev.
Islam Makhachev submits Charles Oliveira to win the title. Wow!
What did I think of the main event?
Yeah, the finish.
Incredible. I mean, I've been saying all week, you got two of the absolute best in the world in their prime facing off, and you know, when I went up into the octagon after, Khabib said, I told you he's the best in the world. And yeah, I mean, to beat Oliveira is one thing, to beat him the way he beat him is another, and as fast as he did it, he looked incredible tonight. You know, the big question going in tonight was how was he going to deal with the pressure? He dealt with it just fine.
So I think I'm the kind of guy who would either not even allow him to get there, or I can get past it if he does jump on a neck or in an arm. And so then it comes the next layer. And I think I have more layers than him. And I think that's what makes me the better grappler.
Beneil Dariush's career was like a bright flash. He had earned the right to be one step away from a title shot, riding an 8-fight win streak with Tony Ferguson and Mateusz Gamrot among his latest victims.
This is the first time they've ever said, hey, yeah, you're number one contender if you win this fight. So I just take it at their word.
Many expected a cautious approach, but Oliveira and Dariush immediately engaged in a firefight. Charles landed heavy shots, forcing Dariush into survival mode. But the Brazilian had already smelled blood. He rushed in, overwhelming his dazed opponent. Charles dropped Beneil to the canvas and unleashed a relentless barrage of powerful strikes. At that moment, the referee had no choice but to stop the fight, and he did.
Oh, he's hurt bad. It's over.
Charles is a gangster.
Gangster. His wife was standing right there crying like when he was walking out.
That was a tough fight. That was a good fight.
That was a tough fight. He almost had him like guillotine. Then he had mounted him, and then he, at the end of the second, he was getting the fucking elbows doing, locks up a triangle armbar. At the end of the round, I was like, oh my god, imagine there's a minute left in that. And then at the end of the third, he's in a darce. Oh my god, that was such a sick fight.
Charles then suffered another heartbreaking loss. His fight against Arman Tsarukyan was highly competitive, but a controversial decision went against the Brazilian. Now, Do Bronx is far from a title shot.
For me, this is personal. This is a revenge fight. Charles Oliveira stole my dream of becoming UFC champion, my #1 goal, becoming the #1 guy in the entire world back in Houston, Texas, my second fight in the UFC. So now, talked to Henry Hoofter this morning, we're putting together a game plan to go beat him in the rematch.
Today, Charles stands on the brink of a championship fight, but his future remains uncertain. Will it be a rematch with Arman or a showdown with Ilia Topuria? Share your thoughts in the comments below. But one thing remains undeniable. Charles Oliveira may not be the champion, but in the hearts of fans and fight lovers, he will always be one of the most electrifying, spectacular, and unforgettable lightweights in history. The People's Champion has a name, and we will remember his era of brutality, an era filled with jaw-dropping submissions, knockouts, and thrilling finishes for a long time to come.